Buenos días a todas las personas que se están conectando en en estos momentos. Muchas gracias por asistir a este evento. Continuando conociendo universidades del Reino Unido, ya pasamos por países como Australia, Suecia, entonces vamos a conocer más universidades. El día de hoy específicamente nos acompaña Catherine, quien es representante de Imperial College London. El día de hoy nos estará contando un poco más acerca de la universidad y nos estará contando acerca del convenio que tienen actualmente con Colfuturo, el cual otorga un descuento del 25% sobre el valor de la matrícula para 8 personas seleccionadas en el programa Crédito Beca. Desde la historia de Colfuturo hemos seleccionado a más de 112 personas con este convenio y con esta universidad, entonces esperamos que la información que se presente el día de hoy sea de gran utilidad para todos ustedes. Y este año se quedaron seleccionadas 15 personas con esta universidad, entonces pues esperamos que sea muy útil para todos ustedes. Al final vamos a tener un pequeño espacio de preguntas y respuestas, entonces si a lo largo de la charla van surgiendo dudas, pueden escribirlas en el recuadro que está en la parte inferior de Q&A. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. You can start.
Buenos dias. Thank you very much for having me. Great to be here to tell you a little bit about Imperial. So hopefully you can see the slides now. So yes, please do put your questions in the chat. Very happy to answer any questions you have. As introduced, my name is Catherine and I work for Imperial. Just to point out there, the QR code, and I can share the link in the chat as well. But if you want to kind of keep up to date about any information from Imperial, please do feel free to follow that link and I'll share it again at the end. But I wanted to give you an overview about Imperial, where we are located, the types of degree programs we offer, and then a bit about the application process as well. So starting off about who we are very proud of the fact that we are a highly ranked university. You look at most international rankings and we are up there in the top 10 in the world in most places. Also very proud of this green accolade here, the Times and Sunday Times Good University Guide, University of the Year 2022. So that is an annual award that is awarded to one university each year in the UK, and we were awarded that for the last year. And that's actually because of the work we did during the pandemic. So it was to do with things like our student satisfaction rating actually increasing during the pandemic, as we really were able to mobilise and make sure that the quality of the education our students received was incredibly high still, despite all the difficulties that were going on during the pandemic. Thankfully, very happy to say we are very much more back to normal now with in-person teaching, but I think it just demonstrates how as a university we are always thinking about how we deliver the best education to our students. A little bit more about our community. So we are quite unique in the UK, being the only university to only focus on science, engineering, medicine and business. But we do have a very wide range of options within those areas, which I will give more details about in a moment. In terms of size, we have around 22,500 students. Roughly half of those are undergraduates and half are postgraduates. We have well over 100 different master's programs, so there's plenty to have a look through. We're also a university that very much collaborates as well. So we want to make sure that the degrees we are offering are relevant to industry. So that we are training up students who will be able to walk into the world of work very quickly with the skills and the knowledge that industry is looking for. So you see here just a few examples of the kind of partnerships we have, the industrial relations we have, and that really feeds into the curriculum of the different degree programs. Bit more about us in terms of kind of, the makeup of our community. So we are an incredibly international university. As you can see here, well over half of our students come from outside the UK. And that really enriches your experience. So that means when you study with us, you're not just going to be getting a British perspective on things, just British ideas around your subject area. You're going to get ideas and perspectives from around the world. So all your fellow classmates, the students and our academic staff come from a very wide range of countries. So that really enriches your experience. But we are very much a University of London. So Imperial College London, we are very proud of coming from such a great city. So we have a large campus in South Kensington that if you have ever visited as a tourist, you may well have walked past our doors. So we are in the kind of museum district of the city. So the green space you see at the top there is Hyde Park, one of the famous parks of the city, and we are next to some of the world renowned museums like the Natural History Museum, the Science Museum, the Victoria and Albert Museum. So it's a really pleasant place to spend time. So we have a lot of facilities in South Kensington, as well as then other campuses such as our White City campus, which is a brand new campus, only opened the last few years, where we have excellent research facilities, labs, new innovation spaces are being developed there. And then we have our Sealwood Park campus as well, just located outside of London, due to the fact that the programmes on offer there are areas such as conservation and ecology, so much more suited to being out in the countryside. I'll show you a bit more about kind of where the hospital campuses are based as well, but really to highlight that being a student in London, yes, you'll have all those wonderful social experiences with the theatre, the cinemas, the music gigs, the restaurants, the pubs, all that kind of thing going on. But it's also a fantastic place to start thinking about sort of networking and building up those contacts for your future careers as well. Many professional bodies, international companies will have headquarters, and I'll talk more about how our careers service can help connect you to those as well. And also just to say, it's not just me saying that London is a fantastic place to be a student. The QS rankings have over a number of years now voted London as the best student city. And that is for things like networking opportunities, international kind of outlook, and all the opportunities available to you. So this just shows you a little bit more in terms of kind of the location. So you see the South Kensington campus there, the blue line going through is the River Thames, and then you'll see the hospital campuses I mentioned. So perhaps if you're doing the master's programmes within the Faculty of Medicine, you may spend time at places like St Mary's, for example. And I mentioned the White City campus, so that's over in Hammersmith. And then outside of London, as I said, the Sealwood Park campus as well. So as I mentioned, you know, we are a specialised university, only focusing on science, engineering, medicine and business, but we have a very wide range of programmes in those areas. So our Faculty of Engineering has many different departments covering areas such as aeronautical engineering, bioengineering, chemical, civil, computing, design engineering, earth sciences, electrical and electronic, materials and mechanical engineering. So a very broad range of different engineering programmes. Within our Faculty of Natural Sciences, we have areas such as physics, mathematics, a very broad range in the life sciences, so more on the kind of human biological side, but then as I mentioned, those areas like ecology and conservation as well. And then programmes in chemistry, as well as our Centre for Environmental Policy as well. The Faculty of Medicine is incredibly large, so lots of different options out there, from the more kind of clinical programmes to areas such as public health as well. So the full kind of spectrum of areas within the medicine faculty. And then our business school has a number of different programmes focusing on areas such as finance, marketing and innovation and entrepreneurship. We then also do have a number of programmes and institutes that kind of cross between those different areas. So we really think, you know, to tackle some of the world's biggest issues, you're going to need to kind of combine the knowledge of scientists with the expertise of engineers, with the business acumen of kind of business students, and also the health related side of things from our medics. So we want everyone to be able to work together as much as possible and not work in those individual silos. So we have started up these Global Challenge Institutes, which work across the disciplines, bringing together those expertise, and they give you an indication of how we think as a university we can make a difference to the world around us, whether that's areas such as climate change or health. And that all feeds into the fact that we know that our students are incredibly bright. We really want to be able to support them and nurture their ideas so that they can make a difference. So we've started up a number of initiatives over the last few years that will support our students of every single department. So no matter which department you are studying in, you can access these programs. Such as through our Enterprise Lab. So the Enterprise Lab supports students if you have an idea around a business that you want to kind of try and get off the ground, or perhaps you're just interested in the area and you want to collaborate with other students. So they do things such as mentorship schemes, pitching competitions, to really kind of enable students to get their ideas out there to the wider world. So if you have those kind of eureka moments, you'll really be able to kind of make the most of it. As you can see here, since they started back in 2014, they have raised over £200 million and supported over 200, well, nearly 300 students in these kind of student startup areas. So it's something that's really kind of taken off on campus. Two of the larger competitions that they run are the Venture Catalyst Challenge, which does have a prize pot of £20,000, as well as our We Innovate, our female-only entrepreneurship programme. So as I said, this is just something extra you could do during your time and is available to all our students. And this feeds into the fact that, yes, you are coming to study a degree with us and you'll obviously have to work hard. It's an intense one-year programme for the Masters, but that doesn't mean that, of course, you can enjoy yourselves. So we have lots of things on offer. We actually have one of the largest offerings of clubs and societies in the UK. So over 380 different clubs and societies. So you can get involved in, you know, areas like sport, music, cultural activities, volunteering. So a great way to meet other students and try new things. Along these lines, we do have some great facilities for you to use during your time with us. So we have our sports centre on campus with a swimming pool, climbing wall, squash courts, badminton courts. The Student Union, which is kind of the support body for all our students and how the clubs and societies are running, also have physical spaces for you to use. There's people like the chaplaincy as well. So there's lots of things available to you on campus. We even have, you know, an art gallery and music rooms. So yes, we are all about sciences, but that doesn't mean that you can't keep being involved in the other areas that you're interested in as well. One thing I'd like to highlight as well, as a student with us studying a master's programme, you will automatically be part of our graduate school. So our graduate school is an overarching support body that is there to really make sure that you are, you know, able to make the most of your time studying. You have access to the resources you need. You have the kind of skills support to ensure that you really are able to make the most of your classes. So they offer things such as kind of workshops and classes and courses to help develop things like research skills, for example. They also do things like networking to again be able to meet other students from other areas, and just generally support you as an extra kind of resource as well as what you'll have in your own department. Other support areas also want to highlight. So as a master's student, you will have your course director, so someone you can you know, talk to about your academic programme, and your tutors on the different programmes. But there's also a lot of independent support as well. So through the Student Union, through the Central College as well. And as part of the visa application process, you do pay what's called the NHS surcharge, but then you have access to healthcare when you are here, as any UK resident would do, for free. So just to highlight the kind of support that is available to you. Accommodation is something, of course, that is always kind of a concern and something you know, people do want to know about. So there are a number of different options when you're coming to study with us. So we have an agreement with an organisation called GradPad. So there are two different locations in London that you can stay in GradPad, and they are graduate only halls of residence. So you'll only be there with students who are also studying masters or PhDs. So perhaps maybe a little bit quieter than maybe the undergraduate halls of residence, for example. So these are all set up perfectly to be there for the 1 year to study. There are then also other options. So there is Imperial Accommodation at Sealwood Park that I mentioned, that is that little bit further outside of London. So they have their own campus accommodation there. However, we do find a lot of graduate students do want to kind of look more at the private housing options. So coming together maybe with, other new students to look at renting accommodation houses. So we offer support in doing this through the Imperial Home Solutions property site. So on there will be kind of advertised properties to rent, and you can also connect with other flatmates as well. So we certainly support you in doing that. Other support to be aware of is our international student support team. So they do things such as a welcome event for international students, but prior to that, they'll be the ones helping you through the visa process, supplying immigration advice, so ensuring you're able to get here on time, hopefully, and also fully supported in that. They offer year-round social activities as well, so they do things like theatre trips in London, or perhaps sort of weekend trips to go and visit other cities. So again, it's another opportunity to meet other international students who are kind of doing the same thing as you. Also, we do offer English language support during your time, so I'll talk more about the application process shortly, but obviously you will need a level of English language to successfully apply to us. However, you still might be wanting to kind of improve, and obviously you will during your time with us, but we'll offer you support in being able to do that, so you can develop your various skills, the listening and speaking, as well as the written academic English as well, is obviously really important. And then the final bit in terms of kind of career support, do want to mention the career service that I mentioned earlier. So they offer a whole range of different support options for you. We have dedicated career consultants who are connected to the different departments, the different faculties. So they are there connecting with employers who particularly want our students. So the relevant sectors, the relevant industries, they will be out there connecting with them. They run fairs during the year, so you can meet future employers. They offer things such as alumni mentoring schemes. So if, for example, in the kind of list of alumni, you see someone in an industry that you're really interested in, you can reach out to them and kind of ask them about their journey, how they got to where they are today. They offer also things like an online vacancy service. So basically jobs being advertised, and those are international as well as UK, so around the world. And all of this support, so things like the vacancy service, will be available to you for up to 3 years after you graduate. So what I would say, obviously, if you're coming to do a master's, that year is going to go quickly. So the career service actually sort of look to reach out to you right when you start, so that you can make the most of your 1 year with us. But then those support services will be available to you after. And kind of because of all of what I've been saying here, we do have some fantastic kind of records when it comes to graduate employability and the starting salaries. So generally we are placed really high in terms of graduate prospects, and in terms of kind of our reputation with employers, again, it is very much kind of well known in the right industries for our graduates to go on to. These are just some of the examples of some of our graduates from recent years, the types of industries they go into. So areas such as kind of cars and Formula One, obviously the engineering side, but things like consultation with large companies as well, but more and more are kind of doing this more entrepreneurial journey as well. So using things such as the Enterprise Lab that I mentioned, our students and our graduates kind of are coming up with their own ideas and making them into viable businesses through the support available. And our alumni are across the world doing fantastic things. So we have various alumni groups worldwide, and we have a new platform called Plexus, which is an excellent way to kind of connect with alumni as well. So basically you can arrive in a new place and you can look on Plexus and see who else in terms of the alumni community is there, reach out to them, and just kind of know who else would be around. Our alumni are also doing things such as posting job vacancies on Plexus as well. They will have known how hard you will have worked, kind of the same as them. So they're very keen to obviously employ other Imperial alumni as well. So it's, again, just an added extra available to you. So moving on to talk a bit more about the application process. So obviously you do need to be very aware of the sort of funding deadline side of things. In terms of deadlines to applying to Imperial, there isn't one set deadline for us. There will be some departments looking at different application rounds this year. So each degree programme will clearly state when the different timings will be in terms of applying. But all programmes do have the ability to basically close once they are full. So my message is always look to apply as early as possible. Once you have all the information together, I would really encourage you to apply earlier rather than later. In terms of what we are looking for in the application, which is direct to Imperial, so you apply through the website, you set up your own account, you upload your documents, and you can work on that application gradually as you kind of complete the different parts of it. In terms of what we are looking for, it is primarily based on your undergraduate degree scores. So for the majority of our programs, we won't be looking for things like GRE or Gmat, although some of the business school programs may either ask for it or be interested in any scores you have in these areas. But for most of the programs, this isn't something that comes into it. It will be looking at your undergraduate degree. In terms of the score we are looking for, this will depend on which programme you are applying to and where your undergraduate degree is from. I will share my contact details again at the end, so do feel free to reach out for me for clarification in terms of your university and the degree programme that you are interested in. But this is a kind of indication of the area we're talking about. So the minimum for any programme from any university would be 3.75, but for some it might actually be up to 4.5 out of 5. So as I said, it will vary. So beyond the kind of academic undergraduate degree scores, what else are we looking for? So the statement of purpose, the personal statement, is the next big thing that we will be looking at. So this is your chance to really bring your application to life in terms of your motivation to do this particular degree programme, and really highlighting why you are a strong candidate to be considered for the degree programme. So there is no set word limit, you know, the really sort of does depend on you. Generally, as a guidance, we say around 2 sides of kind of letter paper, but this will depend on you. You want to kind of get as much information in there as possible, but make sure it's relevant. So it's not kind of hundreds of pages long. You want to get to the point, really kind of, you know, be focused in that statement. So we want to know, why do you want to study that particular programme? So obviously you can go into detail about particular modules maybe that you will be doing in the programme. If you have, for example, career aspirations, why this master's programme will help you in those career aspirations. So really, you know, why you want to do that programme. And as I said, you then want to tell us why you're a really good student to be considered for that programme. So this is where you can elaborate on experiences you've had. So elaborate on classes you've taken in your undergraduate degree, perhaps that are particularly relevant. Maybe there was an area that you started studying in your undergraduate level that really interests you, and this is why you want to do the master's degree. It's also your chance to talk about things like work experience and research experience, internships, anything like that that's sort of added on to your degree programme. For the majority of the programmes, we don't expect work experience. We'll clearly say if that is the case. But, you know, if you do have relevant work experience, of course, that could be something very positive to include in there. So really everything in that statement all kind of builds up, as I said, to someone who is highly motivated and a very strong candidate to do that particular master's programme that you are applying to. We then will ask for 2 references to back up what you're saying, basically to really kind of reassure us you are a really strong candidate. So we ask you to provide the contact details of 2 referees. We will then reach out to them and ask for the references to be sent to us electronically. So at the application point, it's only the email addresses that you would be providing, and then we would follow up to actually ask for the references. We will need at least one of those references to be academic, so someone from your undergraduate university. In many cases, it may be that you have 2 referees from your undergraduate university. So again, think about who would be best placed, who kind of knows you academically, who can comment on your ability to do the master's degree that you have applied for. If you do have, relevant experience, sort of like a research placement or work experience, for example, one of those referees may be non-academic if it's particularly suitable. But in a lot of cases, it will be 2 academic references. Just to say, the business school do have some extra requirements, so please do double check on the business school pages around those. So they will normally want a CV, there may be a short video to submit, and perhaps more around quantitative testing. So please do double check on those. All our programs will require proof of English language, but you can meet this through a number of different ways. IELTS, TOEFL, but there's other testing such as Duolingo, Cambridge Advanced. So there's many different ways you can meet this, and it's all clearly listed on our website. Just note, some programs do ask for what we call our higher level, and other programs will ask for our standard level. So this is, for example, in IELTS, the difference of a 0.5 score. So you'll just need to kind of double check what the program you're applying for is asking for. Just to kind of highlight here the ATAS scheme, the Academic Technology Approval Scheme. So this isn't an academic requirement. It's more like applying for your visa, in the sense that is a vetting requirement by the UK government for some programs. So not all programs will require this, but for some that are deemed kind of I guess, sort of technologically sensitive in terms of the material and the subject that you'll be covering, there is an additional background check, basically. So it's not something in terms of, as I said, sort of academic, but you just need to be aware that if you are given an offer, you will then need to apply for this approval. So it's just about making sure you have enough time to do that, as you won't be able to get what we call an unconditional offer until you have that submitted. So in terms of kind of receiving those offers, it will depend if you're unconditional or conditional, depending normally based on that ATAS approval, but also if you have finished university. If you are still studying and your final qualifications are pending, then you would get what we call a conditional offer that becomes unconditional once you submit your final transcripts, your final degree certificate. For MSc programs, there is currently an application fee of £80. This isn't applicable for MRes programs. So MRes programs are our Masters of Research programs, which are clearly listed by the degree name. And the MSc is our taught Masters programs, which again, each degree program will clearly list this. You can apply for an application fee waiver. There is more information on the website for this. Generally, it would be asking for supporting information why you need to be considered for that waiver. So things such as kind of financial income, for example, will be considered for that. I realise that is quite a lot of information on the application side of things, but as I said, I'm happy to take any questions. I can see some coming in already, and very happy to follow up individually with anyone who wants to reach out to me as well. So that is kind of all the information I wanted to go through in terms of kind of giving you an overview about Imperial and the kind of programs that we do offer. And as I said, a bit about the application process. But I would really encourage you to kind of reach out and find out more. That QR code in the corner there, if you want to sign up and hear updates from us, we will be doing things like information sessions on applying again, information sessions on kind of student life, what it's like to study with us. So we will be offering a number of sessions in the future. So please do sign up via that QR code. But also to highlight that our opportunities to connect with our current students via our Chat to Our Student scheme, so you can ask them about their experiences, and also our graduates as well. So again, you can ask them about their experience, what they've done since, how they've gone on to work in the area they are in there. Of course, we also have things like a virtual tour, all the kind of social media side of things. But as I said as well, there is my email address again, so do feel free to note it down, and I'd be very happy to take any questions in the future if you want to reach out to me. But otherwise, I'm really happy to take any questions that might be in the chat now.
Okay, Catherine, thank you so much. We have some questions. Do we have to pay extra in order to use facilities on campus?
So it will depend on the facilities. The only one really that you would have to pay for is access to the gym and the sports centre, but that is a really reduced price. So I think it's around £40 for the year. So it's a very reduced price. In terms of things like the clubs and societies, you may have to pay a small joining fee, but again, then they'll have very much subsidised, reduced costs of their activities, and a lot of it will be free again. So it depends a little bit on the facilities. Things like the Enterprise Lab I mentioned would be totally free. Students can just go along and try things out through that.
Okay. Do you offer programs in law?
No, sorry. So we are just a sciences, engineering, medicine, business.
Okay. When do we have to look for our academic advisor?
So for a master's program, you don't need to do that. So when you apply, you'll be applying to a set program, and even if it's a research of master's, we will connect you with your academic lead. So there's no need to do that. Obviously, you can have a look on the website at the academics involved in the department just to get a kind of feel for the interest. But as a master's student, you don't need to reach out and kind of connect with anyone. That will all be part of the process.
Is the English free tuition just for accepted students, or it is possible to use before application?
It would just be for students who have enrolled. So you can do a pre-sessional English course, but you would have to pay for that.
Okay. Adriana asked, I would like to ask about exception fees to the application. It is possible?
Yes, so it's not guaranteed, but what you will need to do is submit a form with as much evidence as possible why you should be considered for the application fee waiver. So it would be kind of writing your case around, your financial situation, providing perhaps any documentation around your salary, perhaps. So basically, it will then be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Can you tell us about the agreement between Colfuturo and Imperial College?
So I think you mentioned that at the start, but I believe we have 8 places available for students this year, which is really exciting for us. So this is a new agreement. But yes, I think perhaps you might have more details than I do.
Sí, para esto, para que tengan claro, ustedes tienen que ser seleccionados del programa Crédito Beca con la Universidad de Imperial College. Si ustedes son seleccionados, nosotros le enviamos esa lista a la universidad y ellos son los que toman la decisión de a quién le dan el descuento. Como es para un número determinado de personas, ellos son los que toman la decisión y pues depende de ellos específicamente. Okay. For the Master of Science that start at September 2023, when should I start the application?
Great. So yes, applications for starting in 2023 with us, they will open in October this coming year, so in a couple of months' time. As I said, we don't have one deadline, so we won't say you must apply by this time. But some departments may do application rounds, so they may have first round before Christmas, for example, and then the second round may be kind of ending in February time. What I would always say is that really the most competitive programs will normally be full around kind of April, May time. And again, with the funding side of things, I would always recommend trying to apply earlier rather than later.
How How can I find more Colombian or Latin American students at Imperial College?
So we have a Latin America Society, so you can certainly join that and connect with those students. So yeah, that would be one of the best things to do. Obviously, London's an incredibly cosmopolitan city, so you will be able to find food and culture that reminds you of home. So yeah, but the Latin American Society would definitely be the best start.
Do they give a scholarship for being cum laude in undergraduate studies?
So we don't kind of have anything specific like that. So, in terms of kind of assessing your academics, we will obviously kind of be looking for good scores. But yes, in terms of kind of how we assess the applications, it will be, academic merits, but we don't have kind of a set rule around that.
Mm-hmm. Is there any difference with PhD application with a master application?
Yes, so the PhDs are different. So depending on the department, but that would be more when you would look to reach out to an academic in the department who would be a potential supervisor for you. Some departments will advertise PhDs in set research areas, and it would be a similar process to the masters. You're applying to a set kind of area. But other times it might be that you are best to reach out to the academics who are in the research group within the department you're interested in and give them a background to your research interest, why that's a good connection with their research, and basically they will kind of guide you around whether that would be a good option for them to be a supervisor.
Mm-hmm. Are there more scholarships besides the ones you have with Colfuturo?
We do have some, so they are down to kind of individual departments. So we do recommend that you look at the web pages. There are kind of different options each year. So I'd say even if there isn't something now, look back a kind of slightly nearer the time. Overall, in terms of what Imperial offers, I would say there is more on the PhD side than the master's side.
Mm-hmm. I've already applied for a Master of Science 1 year ago, but I would like to change the program. Can you accept this?
So you would need to contact the admissions team and ask to be considered for a different program. So that's one good point, I should say as well, in terms of when you are applying to us for the majority of the programs. You are applying to one program in the first instance. If you were not successful in that one program, you are allowed in the same cycle to apply to one other program, so a second choice. But that can only happen if you weren't accepted on that first one. You can't apply for two at once. And in a case like this, I would recommend that you reach out to the admissions team and clearly state which program you would want to be considered for. And if appropriate, I would also look to include a separate personal statement if then you are able to change programs.
Mm-hmm. What is the cost of living in London right now?
Sure. So we say on average, students spend around £1,300 per month. I guess US dollars, that's around 1,600 per month dollars. That would be on average. That would be for accommodation, food, transport. Obviously, some students will spend much more and some students will spend less. But yes, London isn't the cheapest city, being honest. But I would say there is no better time to be there than as a student. So you will have discounts on your travel across the city, discounts on sort of train travel in the UK, discounts on cinemas, theatre tickets, restaurants. Obviously, as I said, the student union put on a lot of activities. So yes, it's not cheap still, but it will be cheaper than at any other point in your life. So if you can, it's a great time to kind of try and do it.
Okay. When the application process opens?
So that would be in October. So yeah.
What is the support after finish the course? Employment, opportunities?
Yeah, so as I said, our career service would be available to you for 3 years after you graduate. So things like the job vacancy system, even kind of guidance around your CV, things like that. We then also have the alumni team who are always really happy to be kind of connected with you afterwards, and there's things like our alumni network, so you can then connect with other fellow alumni. So yes, we certainly hope you won't just leave us. We hope there will be that kind of connection after as well.
Is recommend to work while studying, and what is the hour suggest to work?
Sure. So that will be down to you as an individual. On your international student visa, you are allowed to work up to 20 hours per week. However, we do kind of say that we wouldn't recommend working this much during a master's program because of the kind of intense academic nature of the program. Some students may be able to do that, but it may negatively impact your studies if you commit to 20 hours every single week. So we would recommend that you kind of, look for maybe flexible jobs so that at quieter times you could pick up some more hours up to that 20, but then at other times of the year, you may well, want to work a lot less than that 20 if you have, assignments and kind of exams coming up. So 20 is the absolute maximum on your visa, but we would recommend that you work less than that for a lot of the time. You can work off campus, so you are very welcome to kind of through the careers service, even kind of get part-time work through employers that you might be interested in, or just in local restaurants, bars, things like that. On campus there are shops that employ our campus. We have our student ambassador scheme that pays very kind of like flexibly depending on the hours you sign up. So really it's it would be an individual choice, and it is an option. As I said, I'd just be careful about committing too much time to work in due to the 1 year intense kind of study that you'll be doing.
Mm-hmm. How long could take an answer about an application?
So we do commit to a maximum of 8 weeks where at all possible. Some departments may get back quicker than this, some may be a little bit slower. If it is a department that will be doing the application rounds I mentioned, they will state the last date that you would hear. So for example, if you applied by December, they would commit that you would hear by the end of January, for example, but it will depend a little bit. But we aim to get all done by 8 weeks time. But that's where, as I said, we would recommend the earlier application because it's not going to be instant. It's going to take a little bit of time.
It is required the Gmat for enroll a master in finance?
So I can double check that one. The finance program will require some quantitative kind of background, but it will most likely depend on if you have studied a quantitative subject. So it would depend on your undergraduate degree, but let me double check that for you. So basically they want to know that you've got those really good math skills, and one way you could do that is through the Gmat, but they may well accept an undergraduate degree in a similar subject. Sorry, nearly there. So no, the Gmat isn't required, but you can submit it to support your application. So if you have a good Gmat score, you can submit it and it could strengthen your application. But yes, if your undergraduate degree isn't highly recommended, we would recommend either Gmat or a GRE to kind of support that mathematical strength.
For the application, do we need an English certificate test?
So to be, to enroll, you will need that English language. When you apply, you don't have to have that at the point of applying. What it would mean, again, would be that you would have a conditional offer if you were successful, and then you would have to have the right level of English and the right certificate, normally by the July, as you would start in the September, October time. So don't worry about kind of doing your English language before you apply, as long as you're planning on taking it and you're giving yourself plenty of time, maybe if it doesn't quite go right and you need to reset. So give yourself plenty of time, but you don't have to have the result or have taken the test when you apply.
Mm-hmm. Do you help trying to find places to live or just the GradPad scam?
So the Imperial Home Solutions I mentioned, so through that it's like a portal where things like vacancies, landlords will advertise different opportunities, different flats and different houses. Also then you can find a flatmate through that, and then we do have a dedicated student accommodation team, so you can reach out to them if you have any questions and queries. But the Imperial Home Solutions portal, which you'll have access to once you have an application ID, is a really good system to use.
Can you tell us how to access to discount in transport?
So you will basically have the discount in transport once you have your student ID. So you can apply for then kind of the discount card and kind of discount kind of status when you have your student ID.
Mm-hmm. How do you calculate the grades on the lectures?
So in terms of kind of how we assess your undergraduate grades, I guess it would depend on, as I said, in terms of what we're looking for, will depend on which program you are applying to and then where your undergraduate degree is from. So we do kind of take into consideration kind of higher ranked universities we may well be looking for a lower GPA than at a lower ranked university. So we have kind of our own system, I guess, set in place. But as I said, if you want to reach out for me with information on the degree you're interested in and your current or your undergraduate university, I'm very happy to let you know what the minimum entry requirement would be.
Mm-hmm. How can we apply for the application waiver fee?
So it'd just be through the website. There would be a form that you fill in and then you submit that to the finance team.
Okay. What is the TOEFL IBT score required to apply for a Master of Science in Finance?
So for that one, so TOEFL would be a minimum of 100 with a score of 22 in all elements for finance.
Okay, this is the last question. Was a lot of questions. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for all the information that you give to the students.
No, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice Thank you very much. And yes, do feel free to reach out.
Okay, bye.